Welcome in, everyone, to another episode of Beyond the Beat. Today, joined by Josh Taylor from AtoZ Sports. And today, Josh, we're talking Washington Commanders. You're one of the best experts that we could find here to talk about Washington. And one, they're coming off a season, off a huge improvement, number 2 overall pick to NFC Championship game. That's exciting to talk about in and of itself. But we've got some offseason drama with Terry McLaurin, too. So we're going to talk about that. But first, I want to welcome you to the show, and thank you for taking out some time.
Yeah, appreciate you having me. Like you said, it's a good time to buy into Washington. It happened a lot faster than we expected, but no one's complaining here in the DMV, so we'll take it.
It is always good to link up with another Virginia native. I'm from Richmond.
Oh, yeah.
You're telling me just outside of that. So it's always good to link up with, like I said, Virginia natives. But, man, Josh, we tend to start these shows asking about the quarterbacks and, especially from a fantasy standpoint. I feel like this is one where we can be a little bit briefer on the quarterback. Jayden Daniels showed us he's got the goods. So, that's not really in question. And typically the first thing I'll ask is, where can they get better? So, you know what? I'm going to ask something similar but a little bit different. What does not only Jayden but maybe Kliff Kingsbury need to do? What are the keys in your eyes for this offense maintaining the expectations and kind of what we saw from them, both from on-field perspective, but from a fantasy value perspective as well?
Yeah, I think with Jayden, and a lot of it wasn't his fault. Like the running game, second half of the season just fell off. It started strong. Like the first 5-6 games of the season, there was like top 5 in rushing. And then the injuries to B-Rob, the leg injuries he had. Austin Ekeler had 2 concussions last year. So it just kind of went out of Jayden's control. He's like, I guess I'll be the one to kind of carry the rock, literally. And then the offensive line as well. I feel like the improvements they've made there, Josh Connolly Jr. at right tackle, he can move in space. And one thing I love about Kliff is he watches so much film. He's a film junkie. And I was watching like the Commanders log, the video they put out for the draft. And when we got Josh Connolly Jr., I've never seen an offensive coordinator be so excited about an offensive lineman. He's like, this is who I want. Like he left a note for Adam Peters on his desk. He's like, take the tackle out of Oregon, like please.
That's awesome.
And just being able to do that kind of stuff, I think just having a reliable run game, it's going to help Jayden not be like, okay, I have to be the run game in these situations. I can kind of sit back here a little bit more and let it rip to, Terry and Deebo and some of these other weapons I have on offense. But for Jayden, he did the one thing I really wanted, and that's just to get bigger. He's noticeably bigger. He's filling out his body. I know he was already like an older prospect in the draft, but he showed up to like mini camp and everyone's been joking about it. Like, Jayden, like how much more do you weigh? And he's always like laughing about it and stuff like that. But the hit, like when he got his ribs hit, he's like, I don't want that to happen anymore. Like I know these guys are coming after me. So I think just the improvements that they made in the offseason is already like going to elevate what they're going to do from a production standpoint on offense.
Yeah, and I mean, it's funny to hear you talk about the frame. That was one of the few maybe knocks you could have on him as a prospect where it's like, especially considering he does run at that weight, it's really only one hit away, but that's great to hear. I love the praise for Josh Connolly. We got to talk to him at the Senior Bowl, and he kind of highlighted one of the big jumps he made, one of the big reasons for his jumps, I should say, from 2 years ago to his last year at Oregon was being able to coordinate the timing of his feet and his hands. And you love to see a guy who was 20 years old at the time we're talking to him talk about that type of a leap. That's got to be exciting. Does have to flip over to the other side. And the last thing that really kind of gives me confidence about this offense, at least maybe last year they exceeded expectations, but another reason I think they can hit that mark, which is easier said than done. You also added one of the best pass protecting left tackles the game has to offer, and Laramie Tunsil, and you got him at a premium value. And I mean, maybe there's some locker room stuff that Houston didn't love, but if you're a Commanders fan, how could you not love that type of an addition? So I'm with you, and I love to hear that about Kliff Kingsbury. That makes me like him that much more.
Yeah, they love
Josh,
Laramie.
Hit on. Sorry, what'd you say?
No, I was gonna say like they love Laramie. Like I had no problem trade for him, and like just seeing him at practice and how he's like interacting with the team, and he loves Josh Connolly. He's probably JC's biggest fan. He's always like, oh, he's a dog. Like I can't wait to work with him and stuff. So like I know Houston had problems, but I feel like everything is gonna go just fine here in Washington. I'm fine with it.
Take it from a Steelers fan. There are a lot of teams who would like to have Laramie Tunsil playing left tackle with them by the time we get to week 1.
Absolutely.
Well, Josh, you talked about the run game and kind of how that dropped off the table last year. A lot of different questions I want to ask you here, especially considering one of the players I think is getting the most training camp buzz right now is Jacory Croskey-Merritt. And hand up, I just drafted him in Dynasty. I just drafted him in our rookie draft. Okay. So I'm buying in. So I feel like we know what Brian Robinson, and especially at this point in his career, we know what Austin Ekeler are. So we'll come back to them. Tell me a little bit about what we can expect maybe from JCM. Is this a hype? Is this an August hero? Or is this hype we should buy into?
It's fun. I've had like 3 people text me like, I'm drafting like tomorrow. Like, should I do it? I'm like, like this is going to sound crazy, and I'm not by any means comparing him to this player, but I think it's going to take a little while to get up to like this rotation that I can imagine happening. But like I don't think Brian Robinson's like dead. I don't think they've taken him behind the shed at all. Like I think like they still really like him. He just has to stay healthy. But the problem is we have like 2 or 3 other Brian Robinsons on the team, like with Chris Rodriguez and McNichols. Like they do the same thing. So we just need something different. And I feel like that's where JCM really steps in. And I'm sitting there at practice, like he's smaller. Like you see Brian Robinson, I'm an Alabama fan, so I will go to war for Brian Robinson, but like I'll also critique him when he like bro, you should have got another yard from that run. But you see him, and then you see JCM right next to him, and he's noticeably smaller. But like the cuts, the vision, just his ability to get skinny in those gaps and just make big plays happen. We didn't have that at all last season. So I don't think it's just hype, honestly. I mean, like I remember watching the Shrine Bowl. I was at the Senior Bowl too, and I was in the hotel watching the Shrine Bowl. I was like, "Who is this cat?" Like
he wins game MVP.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah,
that was his only game he played last year.
Yeah.
So just to show up as a late invite and say like, "All right, this is my one chance for the entire year." Like he's such a good story and he's such a good person, but I think that like eventually it can turn into like what Detroit wants to do with Gibbs and Montgomery, and beat people up with B-Rob, and then like those goal line situations. I'd expect B-Rob's to still get carries and touchdowns, and from a fantasy standpoint, I still think B-Rob's going to have that role carved out. But those situations where we just needed bigger home run plays, I think like Ekeler had like the best run last year, like against the Bengals, and then outside of like Jayden Daniels and his big runs. So like we just needed somebody that had that firecracker that you just didn't know was going to come. It could happen on any play, and I think that's what he's bringing, and it looks like he's going to do it in practice.
Yeah, just looking for that home run ability and just that change of pace in a lot of ways. Yeah. Normally you say that and you're talking about your bruiser type. That is the change of pace, the change up to the fastball, but you're almost looking for the opposite there. And I think the other thing that, as someone who did, just like I said, draft JCM in Dynasty, part of the reason maybe I am a little skeptical, and I could see where it does take some time, maybe even beyond year one. Brian Robinson, while he doesn't have that home run ability, for the most part, he's going to maximize what's in front of him. He is very good about getting what's there for the most part. And that's at 26 years old, his body, that's a hard thing to take off the field. And he does a lot of those little things right. So that's another one of those obstacles. As much as we would love to see JCM do that, there's also guys in front of him. So no, I hear you there. And then, Ekeler, talk to me a little bit about Ekeler, what you see from his fantasy standpoint. I don't see a whole lot of chatter about him. I'm not thinking he's going to be too highly ranked in, Zaray's rankings or anything like that. But there were some games where he stepped in for Brian Robinson. Do you think he still has that kind of fill-in value this year?
I mean, I think from a receiving standpoint, yes, but like running wise, I think that's where they're just going to go with the fresher legs with a Jacory Croskey-Merritt. But I can't act like that he doesn't have a receiving threat. He was one of the top receivers on the team last year. Like you go back and check the stats. It's like I never would have guessed Zach Ertz and Austin Ekeler were like up there in like the top 4 receiving yards of that team last year. But they were. He outproduced De'Ami Brown for all the Washington fans out were like gaslighting, like De'Ami Brown, like, oh, get him back. We need to like give him whatever. I'm like, Austin Ekeler outproduced De'Ami Brown. So like I'm fine letting him go. But I think he's going to take on that role of like that, that third down running back to where like he can do a little bit of everything and, those third and shorts. And he was clutch at a lot of big plays, like the Bucks game. He had a couple big catches.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think, having concussions, like it's serious. He's not going to get like 10 rushes a game or something like that. But don't be surprised when it is third and long. You see Ekeler out there, or you could even see like 2 running backs with Ekeler and Jacory Croskey. So that's the one thing I want to see JCM do better is the receiving game and then the blitz pickup. Obviously, like pass protection, as small as he is, I don't know what that's going to look like. So I think that's where they're like, hey, Austin Ekeler, his little, stocky self, put him out there. He can do it all. So it's going to be interesting. I think it's going to change throughout the season. Now, that's the biggest thing I want to see is like who steps up and who do they kind of like like a music board, like you have like the faders or whatever. Like,
sure.
More JCM. Let's do a little less. I'm like Austin Ekeler. Sure. That's what I think is going to happen. So I'm not saying draft any of these guys because it could change drastically by like week 6 or someone can get hurt, like knock on wood, and then the other guy starting. But I think it will be much better than it was last year, though.
Yeah, and I think the other thing that's hard to quantify here, Ekeler, undrafted guy, working with a 7th rounder who got totally screwed by the NCAA last year. Like, I feel like there's something there, and especially like you talked about, JCM probably not going to be a great pass protector, but I could see a world where he's a nice pass catcher, and Ekeler can certainly help out in that regard. Also, maybe help with the pass pro side. I do wonder I could see a world where we're week 10 and there's a story about these two guys. I could just kind of see that on the horizon. Similar pass.
If anything, he's got pad level. That's all JCM has.
Low man wins.
Pad level. Yeah.
Low man wins. Well, you talked about, the pass game production that Ekeler brought last year and how it's a little surprising when you look at how that actually stacked up. We'll come back to the tight ends in a second. First, let's talk receivers. Terry McLaurin's as consistent as it gets. So from a fantasy side, I kind of don't want to talk about it. He is in his age 30 season, so there is something to talk about with, when will age catch up to Terry, all that sort of stuff. But really the big news here to talk about is what's the latest you're hearing? Where's his contract at? And then with Cortland Sutton's deal, it felt like the market was working against the Commanders, and then that deal comes in and it's like, oh, well, that one might actually work against Terry. So what's the latest you're hearing on this T-Mac situation with his contract?
I like personally, I don't think it's close. I think this drags into like mid-August, unfortunately, maybe even like late August. I love Buddy Baker to death, his agent. I've tried to get a hold of him. He hasn't texted me back. Rightfully so. I don't think he would. I think like this is his last contract of his career.
Yeah, sure.
Like, and it is like a difference, you're coming into the NFL at 24, like you look at guys in your draft class. I think DK, AJ Brown was his draft. Like they were all like 2 years younger than him. So it is just such a different contract that like you can't compare it to anything. You can't compare it to DK. Sure. You can't compare it to Sutton because the production's either different or the age is different. And those are two like vital factors when you're talking about contracts. So I think the team is just like standing their ground. I don't know like the exact numbers. If I had to guess, they're at like 28 like max right now.
Really?
And from what Adam Schefter said, like I don't know if Adam Schefter is like blowing smoke or if he's just guessing. But that came a day after Terry reported back to practice, and he's talking to his agent every day on the field. So I don't know if that was like the team being like, hey, fans, I know y'all are pissed at us at practice, but this is why we haven't paid him yet. Because he wants 35, he wants 36, and that's just too far. You're talking $8 million a year. That's a drastic amount. So I think Washington is just stuck on their number right now, and they're just hoping that, I'm not saying Terry and Buddy need to be realistic about the number, but they just want to kind of like have them come down on their own before they even engage in conversations. When Terry said it was a month that they haven't talked about a contract, but right before training camp, I was like, something's going on. Like, I think y'all pissed Adam Peters off by what your number was. Like, Adam Peters isn't just ignoring Terry for no reason. Like, something has to be there. So, but like business standpoint wise, you got Deebo next year. Tunzel's going to want a new contract. You traded picks for those. Lattimore's going to want a new contract. You traded picks for those. Like, there's just a lot going on contract-wise, and I get it why Washington doesn't want to come off of its number. Like, I know Terry's a fan favorite. These fans probably like him more than Jayden, which is crazy. But, like, Terry's been here he's been here through the bad. Like,
Exactly.
Terry's been the bright spot in a very dark room for a long time. So, I think Washington's just – I'm not going to ever doubt Adam Peters and what he's done with the team. We made it to the NFC Championship game after 1 year. You can do whatever you want, and I'll stand by it. So I think it does get done. I don't think it's a matter of if. I think it's just a win. And I think it's just dragging out way longer than what people really hoped it would.
Yeah, well, it's funny, kind of responding to some of those points there, especially you look at Adam Peters, and like there were multiple years where it felt like it was impossible for the 49ers. How are the 49ers going to get all these guys re-signed?
Yeah, they did.
And yet somehow, some way, they would always make that right extension, push the money for, or however they structured it. And it was like, okay, well, damn, they still got all those superstars. So I wonder if Peters can work some of that same magic. And it's funny to hear where you're talking about the disparity between the numbers on the two sides, because when I initially had heard the Garrett Wilson deal, and again, different age, I was thinking, okay, you know what? He's 30. I could see this working out to be 3 years, 32 per, so 3 years, 96. And basically the first 2 years of that being guaranteed money. And I also wonder if that's the big holdup here, especially you're in your 30s. I could see a world where the guarantee side of this is where the team's a little concerned about forking over that to a 30-plus-year-old receiver. Yeah. But on the other side, Terry's like, hey, man, after this, I might be a one-year deal kind of guy. I might be a mercenary. I might become the next DeAndre Hopkins type, right? 1 year at a time.
I hope
so But think about it. If he's 30 now and he plays out till he's 33, he's probably only going to get 1 year at a time once he hits the market again.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So I do wonder. So here's my prediction: 3 years, 96 with 64 guaranteed. I'll throw that out there. That feels like a good middle ground for these two
that's
guys.
Honestly right where I'm at. I'm at like 31, 32. So I'm right there with you, honestly.
Yeah, and again, I think guarantees are the big side of this too. So
yeah.
That being said, let's just go ahead and say he's back. Let's just say he's going to be a Commander. They get the deal worked out. Let's just say I'm right. That would be few and far between, but let's just say that's the scenario we've wandered into here. Looking at the other receivers here, and specifically their fantasy value, Deebo is a tough one, man, because, again, you just look at online chatter, not that that's everything. Half the people are out. He showed up to camp overweight again. Oh, my God, what Deebo doing Deebo? And then the other side remembers the good times. They remember 2021. They remember what it was like to have Deebo Samuel pumped into their veins. Mm-hmm. And then on the reason I may be leaning a little bit towards that direction, not necessarily fully there, but I think about how Kliff Kingsbury used Rondale Moore. And maybe there could have been more of that for sure, but Deebo is still on a different level of where Rondale Moore is, So talk to me about what you think the usage is going to be for Deebo in the backfield. Obviously, he's probably going to be used on jet sweeps, but also from a receiving standpoint, what can we expect out of Deebo this year?
First off, Deebo's my guy. I love Deebo. Like my buddy's like his personal chef out in Arizona. Shout out to my boy Dre. But I think people blew that so out of proportion. Like when Deebo talked to the media about like him actually having pneumonia last year, it was insane. Like I was like, there's no way he actually played every single game except the last game of the year when the season was already over. Like not being able to breathe. Like he was like, I couldn't breathe normal for months after that. It's just crazy. With his role, it's not like he's just going out there I'm gonna take it. They're like, no, you're running, you're doing everything. We're gonna put you in motion.
Right.
You're pretty much playing soccer as a football player. 100%. So it's just what I've seen from Deebo in practice. He's been the best player on the field, better than Jayden, because Jayden's had two days where it's oh man, there's 2 picks, 3 picks or whatever. Sure. Mikey Sanderson's balling, Trey Amos is balling, the defense looks good. But there has not been a single day where I'm like, man, Deebo had some drops. Deebo could have done this. He has every single day. He's the most energetic guy. He is making the craziest catches. And it's not even just like you said, oh, here's an end around. Here's a gadget play. You can't catch anymore. No, he's running routes. He's running slot seams and catching over the safeties. He's doing things that so many people are oh, he's washed. He's not going to be able to do that anymore. So fantasy wise, I'm buying all the Deebo stock. This is bias aside. I see no way that he doesn't produce in a Kliff Kingsbury offense with Jayden Daniels and a legit weapon in Terry across the field. What is it? Throws 10 to 19 yards. Jayden was right there with Lamar as the best in the league last year. That's where Deebo's going to just feast across the middle of the field. People aren't going to be able to tackle him. And he's in great shape right now. He looks like he's the old Deebo. I'm not saying he's going to have, 1,200, 1,500 all-purpose yards, but if you gave me $100 to bet, he's having over 1,000 all-purpose yards. Absolutely. So I'm not worried about that. I don't know how much they'll use him in the run game though, honestly, because I think they kind of want to protect that wear and tear and be smart. And Dan Quinn preaches player safety and health, and that's how Bobby Wagner played all season and Zach Ertz played all season, stuff like that. But at practice the other day, they were doing a lot of end arounds and quick passes, those jet passes, that you spam on college football. So I think they'll at least do that with them. But I just wouldn't expect Deebo lined up Ashton Jinty in the backfield, waiting to get an inside zone or anything like that by any means. But buy all the Deebo stock you can, absolutely.
Well, we're gonna have to get the intern on the 1,000 all-purpose yards. I love the declaration there. That's fantastic.
It's gonna happen, absolutely.
Yeah, and I think there's another reason, again, I'm leaning in that direction. We're kind of on the same side you are. There's less mouths to feed overall, and that's kind of where I want to turn this direction to. But in San Francisco, it's Ayuk, then Juwan Jennings is breaking out. It's Kittle, it's CMC being a dual threat. There was just so many mouths to feed. We're here. He's the number 2 guy. We talked about the run game. It's, I think it's going to be better, but not necessarily something you're going to write home about.
Fast Draft has launched the Rabbit. It is our full best ball tournament, but it's done the Fast Draft way. 20-second time clock, just 15 rounds, 10 teams. That means we're going out and drafting 150 players total. Don't need to know the 4th receiver on the worst team in the NFL. Don't need to memorize the Week 17 schedule because it's total points, and you can follow your team's performance in the standings throughout the year. Because these drafts take just 20 minutes, a lot of casual people are finding this game. They're finding best ball for the first time, and also a lot of hardcore best ball players are loving this because they want a new place to play best ball with exploitable ADPs. That just happens to be a lot of fun. We've stumbled upon something here with this Rabbit tournament. We're very proud of it. Hope you check it out. First tournament, already 30% full after 1 week. So we're on to something.
But let's turn the attention to receiver 3. Noah Brown turned into a pretty useful piece, and then he got banged up last year, and in comes Olamide Zaccheaus, his familiarity with Dan Quinn. That's great to see. Those guys link back up. And all told, those guys combined for almost 1,000 yards last year. Like that and about 80 catches. Like that was a solid, third option from a receiver standpoint. Is it Noah Brown once again now that he's back and healthy, or is there some hope for Luke McCaffrey in year 2? Is Michael Gallup gonna, be the Cowboy Slayer this year? And then what about rookie Jalen Lane? He was another guy at the Senior Bowl, good athlete. I think there's still some nuance to be added to his route running, but because he's so explosive and he is such a good athlete, there is some natural separation skills there. So give me a deep dive. Who do you think ends up being by the end of the year? Doesn't have to be first off, beginning of the year. That's probably going to be Noah Brown. He's probably got pole position, I would assume. But by the end of the year, who do you think that third receiver in this offense is?
Well, I mean, I'll say this, like Noah Brown is still extremely underrated. Like he's not just like some Hail Mary guy.
I tend to agree 100%.
Like, yeah. And he impressed me too, because he got banged up at the very end of OTAs. And we thought it was going to be serious. Like he was pissed. Like he threw his helmet. Like he was on the cart. Like he was like screaming and stuff like that. We're like, oh no, like we're not going to hear about this till training camp. And we heard nothing literally until training camp. So we're like, his season's over. But like, no, he's like, I'm good, guys. And he looks really good out there. Like his routes are much better than people want to like give him credit for. And he catches a lot of stuff. He's like, if there's a third down play and I have to target someone, like honestly, Noah Brown is one of the reliable guys that's going to be right at the sticks. Like if that route is like 2 yards short, he's going to bump it up and make sure he gets that first down. But from a production standpoint, yardage, he might be wide receiver 3, but I think Jaylen Lane has a real shot at being wide receiver 3 because I think he starts in the slot. I think Deebo, he lines up a lot on the outside. I don't know why people think he's like a primary slot guy. He's not. He will play there for sure, but he's going to line up on the outside. But
there's some nuance there. Everyone just thinks outside, both those guys are X's, and it's like, no, there's such a thing as a Z receiver, and it's okay. They can play.
Let's go through the alphabet. And I think Jaylen Lane, his speed pops. And he had, what day was it? Sunday, the craziest catch I've ever seen in training camp in all of my years of being at training camp. Like it was nuts. Jayden threw, I mean, it was a dime. I forgot how far it was, but like right in the back corner of the end zone, and he mossed Quan Martin and Mikey Samerstill. And I don't know if he got both feet in. He for sure got one. People are still asking if he got 2 in. But I don't care. Like the fact that he mossed both of those guys, I was like, did that really just happen? Like this guy like looks like he's a vet already. I mean, it was a Pat Mahomes type throw by Jayden Daniels, but I was like, this guy, his routes are good. He catches everything. He's bigger than I thought he would be too. He's not some like skinny, scrawny, like fast guy by any means. Like he's a little horse out there. So I don't know. Like Luke McCaffrey, I don't know. He's the biggest like question mark. Like he's a great athlete. He got tackled at the 1 yard like 3 or 4 times last year. I felt so bad for him. But like he does look improved as well. Gallup, he's already been like banged up twice in practice. I don't know like what his longevity is going to look like. He was retired. He came back. But if you could get like 300, 400 yards out of Gallup, that's an absolute win. Like you were mentioning, like Olamide Zaccheaus, Crowder had big games last year. Yes, that Jamison Crowder, Washington fans. So I feel like with Jayden Daniels, he elevates everyone around him, which is great. So I think you'll see Jaylen Lane be effective, like right off the rip. You'll see Noah Brown get all these touches. I think, you'll see some Luke McCaffrey in there. I'm not saying he's not going to make the team. I think he definitely will. But wide receiver 3 by the end of the year, that is tough. It really just like Jaylen Lane is the wild card. He's either going to pop off or people are going to be like, oh man, next year he's going to be really good. He just didn't get the opportunities this year. So it's close. But I think Jaylen Lane's going to surprise a lot of people.
Well, I mean, part of the reason I think that's so exciting is because no one throws a slot fade like Jayden Daniels. Yeah. And if you're telling me Terry's on the outside and the center of gravity that he comes with, and now Jaylen Lane with his explosiveness and his long speed in the slot,
That's what I'm saying.
I mean, it could be dangerous. But Noah Brown's been underrated everywhere he's been. Dallas, Houston, and now Washington. So
CJ Stroud missed him last year. CJ Stroud would have done anything to have him back last year.
Once Nico Collins goes down, right? Because Collins missed games the year he was in Houston and plug right in Noah Brown. And it's almost like Nico Collins is top 5 for me, but almost like the offense wasn't missing anything. So, as close as we
extremely underrated. He deserves a lot more than, just that, like I said, that Hail Mary he got. Noah Brown's a lot better than people realize.
100%. And then for Luke McCaffrey, I'd almost wonder if he just becomes the Swiss Army fill-in guy. And some of that's probably Zacchaeus too. Zacchaeus is not going to be X, but I wonder if McCaffrey's working that in right now. Slot's probably more ideal, but I wonder if he just becomes the, hey, someone's hurt, you're going to fill in here. Yeah. That type of role. But Josh, now let's turn our attention to this tight end conversation. You talked about Zach Ertz, really productive year, and especially in the red zone, I think he added a ton to that offense and also just the veteran presence that he brings. But again, let's go back to my dynasty team. That's what's really important here.
Try to win you some money, man.
Sinnott, fantasy holder. I mean, come on, give me some hope here. Is there a future?
You see the jersey
that makes some impact this year?
That's my boy. Man, it's tough. I think what happened last year was one, at Kansas State, he did a lot. He did everything.
Sure.
The number spoke for itself. He was fullback, H-back in the slot, out wide, in line, whatever. Ben was doing it. So I think now it's been more of hey, let's sharpen that edge, let's clean that up. Let's mold you into more of a pure receiving tight end. After that one catch against the Jets, I was like, oh, Hall of Famer. Ben's gonna put him in the Ring of Fame. That I was like, I'm ready for this. But then Zach Ertz was like, I'm just not done yet. Yeah. So I think I don't think people realized or expected Zach Ertz to do that. And I should have known. He was talking pivot and stuff before the season. He's like, oh yeah, Jayden's it. And then after the season, he's like, I love this game again. I love Kliff. I love Jayden. I love football. This is for me. So I'm not ruling out Ertz. I think Ertz is going to do what he did last year too. I think the longevity is going to be there. I think he's going to be durable. So I think that's obviously going to hurt Ben, but I think you will see, more increased, more Ben, because we started to see some of these packages in practice. There's 2 tight ends, there's 3 tight end sets, and I was like, okay, they're really trying something. But as a blocker, Ben killed it last year. I know that's not the sexy thing. Ask John Bates. But people wanted to sign John Bates in the offseason. People we want, he's a Ford F-150, not a Corvette, but it's still a really good truck.
It was the role that it serves. Yeah.
Yeah. We need him to do that. So I'm not saying Ben is Bates by any means. I think he's a way better receiving threat. No offense to Bates if you ever watches this, but after the catch, his route running, his ability to high point, just his body control, athletically,
he's just a way better athlete.
Yeah, as a hockey player, you're going up catching passes like that, you have no business.
He's making Phil Kessel smile somewhere.
Yeah, I'm not saying this might be the breakout year, but next year for sure. I hate to be that guy, but next year is going to be the year. But it's just I'm still on reserve on how much stock fantasy wise to buy in on Ben. But if you're in one of those keeper leagues and you're hey, I'm trying to stash him away,
yeah,
I definitely would, because after this season, I think he could easily go from the 3rd to the 1st because of his receiving ability and his ability. Hey, 3rd downs, we can keep you in to block. Right. You can go on these block and release routes for us, and I think you will see some more this year. But I don't know to what extent, because Zach Ertz is just fighting Father Time with everything he's got right now.
Well, it's not fully the same, but it harkens back a little bit to the Brian Robinson point earlier, where it's when that guy's so good at doing the little things and he is so efficient, why would you take him off the field? And that kind of limits Ben Sinnott there. But man, if we start to see more 2 tight end sets, that's kind of fun to think about for Jayden's rushing ability too, right? If they get the right look, he could kill the pass play, turn that into something where he's keeping the ball, or, JCM, Ekeler, B-Rob, whoever.
Yeah.
Some more mass on the field. That's kind of appealing. Again, talking about where we want that run game to take a step forward this year. So
yeah, you're not going to get any fantasy points out of his blocks, but
but it'll keep him on the field.
Yeah, and it earns you opportunities too. Like I said, it's not just because he's in line doesn't mean he's just going to be stuck in there the whole time. So those doing the hard things, doing the dirty work gets you those opportunities. And he scored last year. We saw some opportunities for him. He's pulling around on some runs and stuff like that. But I think it's coming. So if I had to make prediction for Ben stat wise, I'd say 250 yards, 3 touchdowns.
That's kind of what I was thinking.
Some red zone. He'll get some red zone.
Just a tease. And again, Dynasty owners are thinking about year 3 for Ben Simmons.
It'll be in the first 3 weeks too, and everyone's like, "Oh yeah, I'm trading for him."
Yep,
and then
next trade with pride.
Yep, pretty much.
All right, Josh. Love asking this to kind of round out the episode. What's something about the Commanders that, we've focused a lot on the offensive side. Feel free if you feel like it needs to pinball the other side. But what's something that isn't fully obvious or maybe being discussed about a whole lot right now that you feel like is a huge storyline going into this one, or a big part of what the Commanders could have success-wise this year?
I'm going to say something really bold. I think Mikey Samerstill is one of the next best corners in the league.
I love it.
I think he's a top 5 future corner of this league. When I think about the young up and coming good ones, I know it's his second year, but even already in practice right now, I'm like, this guy, it amazes me. We have Trey Amos, who I'm a huge fan of. I'm an Alabama fan, so I love Trey. Told him he shouldn't have transferred. We got Marshawn Lattimore on the other side of the field. And the one guy that's popping off is the 5'10.5" dog of a corner that's made a one-hand interception 50 yards down the field on a deep Jayden throw. That was a dime to Jalen Lane. Tipped it to himself, caught it as he's falling down. And it's just every play, he's just sprinting up and down the sideline, yelling. And Bobby Wagner's this guy is crazy. So I think people need to get ready for that conversation. My GOAT, Nick Saban, already called him the best player in the draft when we drafted him, which was nuts. He said, this is the hardest guy I've ever had a scheme against. So that gave me confidence when he said that. But what I saw first year out of Mikey, and then what I think he's going to do this year, oh my gosh, sign me up for that. And then another under the radar thing for the defense, I'll say Von Miller looks juiced up. He looks good in practice.
Nice.
So don't sleep on Von getting a solid 6-7 sacks for us.
And probably just as a designated pass rusher, right? Limit those snaps, get the most out of them.
First, second down, he's going to be on his phone somewhere. You're not going to see him unless it's third, fourth, and long, whatever. But but his spin move is crazy. Even on Tunzel and Connerly, a few of that he didn't have pads on, but how fast he still just gets off of his his stance and spins.
At his age now too, it's one thing when it was 10 years ago, but now it's.
I was there's no way. When he said I could roll out of bed and get a sack, I was yeah, I believe it now. You definitely could. And I'll say Quan Martin too, another breakout player. He had 2 torn shoulders last year, and he played. I think one of them was torn for 80% of the season, and then he tore the other one later in the season. Still had a crazy interception against the Lions. He had big plays last year. So I think he's going to be another one of these up and coming guys. So don't sleep on the youth. I know everyone talks about Washington's the oldest team in the league because they have Josh Johnson, who's 55. They got Bobby Wagner, Zach Ertz, Von Miller, but the youth of this team is so good.
Yeah.
And I think people are going to realize it this year. It's not even just Jayden. It's it's Mikey. It's going to be Jalen Lane, Trey Amos. I think Brandon Coleman moving back inside is going to be huge for him. There's
going to be JCM.
Oh yeah, JCM's going to be 1,000-yard rusher this year. 100%. So I think people just need to talk about the youth of Washington and not the retirement center, part of the roster, which is still good.
Well, it's awesome to hear you say that, and you kind of hit on it with Samerstill. He's playing alongside a former top 5 pick who's, I know he's a little banged up once he got to Washington, but still at his peak, one of the best corners in the league. And then, a guy who was top 35 on my board this last year, probably should have been a first rounder.
Yeah, I was
and he's the one popping. Love to hear that.
Yeah, Mike is playing outside. Like I said, he's 5'10". He played outside the entire season. Locked down A.J. Brown. He was locking down Smitty.
And that was not who he was supposed to be. He was supposed to be this awesome nickel corner. But, he totally exceeded expectations there. Yeah. Well, Josh, dude, this has been a blast to talk about the Commanders again from Virginia. My fiance is a Commanders fan, so this is obviously a team that's pretty near and dear to our hearts. So, man, where can the good people find your work?
Yeah, so you can follow me on social media at Josh Taylor FB, like football. And then you can catch all my articles on AtoZ Sports, and not even just me. So if you're a fan base of college team, any NFL team, check out AtoZ Sports. Got a loaded roster. Talk about good teams. We have the best in the business, in my opinion. I mean, you just look at the people writing these articles, you're like, holy smokes, this is like the Avengers of football. And then on YouTube, same thing, AtoZ Sports Commanders for more videos. Been kicking that up, with training camp and preseason stuff coming up. So check out social media and check out the articles.
Go check out Josh's work. It is fantastic. AtoZ as a whole, like you said, also a great resource if you're looking to expand beyond just 32 beat writers. But awesome. Josh, thank you again for coming on the show. Till next time, we are signing off.